This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Welcome to Ambrose University Online Chapel for February the 4th, 2021. I don't know how you feel about the month of February, but as a month it gets very bad press. Someone has called February the Wednesday of months. The Toronto-based music collective Lao sings a song with the line, "All the days in February are like Mondays." Can we just say no to that? I know these are the dog days of winter and we're in a pandemic, but this day, today, is a gift. It comes from God's very hand, and it's full of grace and possibility for you and for me and for our groaning world today. Hear these words based on Psalm 36. God, your constant love reaches to the heavens. Your faithfulness extends to the skies. Your righteousness towers like the mountains. Your justice is deeper than the sea. All find protection under the shadow of your wings. We feast on the abundance you provide. You are the source of all life, and in your light, we see light. This morning we continue our Thursday Chapel Series on the day that changed my life. Ambrose faculty and staff are sharing stories about significant moments on their spiritual journeys. It's important to share our stories of faith because they help us to grow in our own faith. They remind us that God's grace works in our lives in ways we could never predict or turn into a formula. They remind us that the journey with Jesus is about gratitude and struggle, joy and lament, times of doubt and surrender, and of simply being overwhelmed by beauty and love. Finally, they remind us that every day we walk this earth is a day we do not walk alone. Our speaker today is Monique Verhoef, Assistant Vice President for Student Life at Ambrose University.
The Lord is my shepherd. He goes before me, defender behind me. I won't fear. I'm filled with anointing. My cup's overflowing. No weapon can harm me. I won't fear. Hallelujah, I am not alone. Your spirit lives within me. My victory, my victory. Your spirit lives within me. So I will walk in your peace. Your spirit lives within me. My victory, my victory. Your spirit lives within me. So I will walk in your peace. Your spirit lives within me. My victory, my victory. Hallelujah. I am not alone. Oh, He's my comfort, always holds me close.
Hear the word of the Lord from the book that we love. Suppose I speak in the languages of human beings or of angels. If I don't have love, I am only a loud gong or a noisy cymbal. Suppose I have the gift of prophecy. Suppose I can understand all the secret things of God and know everything about Him. And suppose I have enough faith to move mountains. If I don't have love, I am nothing at all. Suppose I give everything I have to poor people. And suppose I give myself over to a difficult life so I can brag. If I don't have love, I get nothing at all. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not want what belongs to others. It does not brag. It is not proud. It does not dishonor other people. It does not look out for its own interests. It does not easily become angry. It does not keep track of other people's wrongs. Love is not happy with evil, but it is full of joy when the truth is spoken. It always protects, it always trusts, it always hopes, it never gives up. Love never fails, but prophecy will pass away. Speaking in languages that had not been known before will end, and knowledge will pass away. What we know now is not complete. What we prophesy now is not perfect. But when what is complete comes, the things that are not complete will pass away. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I had the understanding of a child. When I became an adult, I put the ways of childhood behind me. Now we see only a dim likeness of things. It is as if we were seeing them in a foggy mirror. But someday we will see clearly. We will see face to face. What I know now is not complete. But someday I will know completely, just as God knows me completely. The three most important things to have are faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of them is love. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
A day that changed my life. One day? When Terry asked me to speak about a day that changed my life, I was pretty sure I did not have a day. One didn't come to mind at first, at least. There have been many important moments, important books, like the one I stole from my dad's library while I was in university. Life Signs by Henry Nouwen. I thought the word fecundity in the subtitle was more than intriguing. The book changed me. Fecundity, by the way, is the ability to produce many new ideas, to be fruitful, generative life goals. I thought I did not have one day, but there is one. One day where something happened that brought me back to many days over many years, and this is how it changed me. Something happened that woke me up and set me on a journey of curiosity and discovery, a journey of fecundity. Something happened that changed me and is continuing to change me. Something that reminded me that God is alive and active and on the move and is very present. And it showed me that God uses everything to bring us back to life. And God is in and using every part of our story, of my story. Last time on A Day That Changed My Life, which I know sounds like a soap opera title, Professor Dick talked about thinking and valuing a thinking church. Today, I want to talk about how God showed up and reminded me to feel. My spiritual tradition, my church, very much values thinking, to the dismissal of feeling or other ways of knowing. And I can assure you the story I'm going to share with you today is far too woo-woo, touchy-feely, personal, mysterious, and silly for my tradition. Sus, as my youngest would say. This day we speak of, this thing that happened, took place a few years ago. But God uses every part of our story, so this story really starts when I was in grade 8. My family moved. We've moved before, but this one felt really big. Our family packed up our life and we moved across the ocean to Cambridge, England. It's a beautiful place, but it's also very, very far away. It was just for a year, but still, remember, I'm in grade 8. I knew we weren't coming back to the community we were leaving. This move early in my teens is where disruption really broke something in me. Childhood, to me, was gone. I couldn't have been more upset about this move, as I think you can tell. I usually approached life with a lot of frivolity and joy. I loved it. I loved life. Loved my friends, was content, connected, laughed a lot, was creative, generative, fecundity. All was, as you might say, as it should be. And then we moved. I felt things in a big way, and having no say in the outcome of my life, I felt helpless. I felt powerless, displaced, dismissed, depressed, sad, alone, afraid, and angry. Fast forward to the middle of that year. I'm reluctantly navigating a new culture, new school, new church. There's lots of travel highlights and really good stuff too. Second semester that year, I registered for my first shop class. I loved it. Our assignment was to make a clock out of acrylic plastic. I'd never used acrylic plastic. We got to use saws and massive buffer sanders, cut, measure, drill, glue, create. Fecundity. Here is what I made. It flew out of my hands off the buffer machine and cracked. The second time, the shop teacher said I had to live with the crack. It seems fitting. I made this clock, a sad clock, a sad clown clock. Why a clown, you ask? Well, there may be some deep Jungian archetypal message at play here, but with all my adult simple analytical skills in motion, I have come up with this. At that time, it was only acceptable for me, acceptable to myself and to others, to be as sad as I was if I made a joke of it. If I treated it as if it was really no big deal. If I approached that growing sadness inside of me in a lighthearted way. A clown can be anything it wants, but for me, it wasn't okay to be sad. A clown is a bit creepy, cryptic, mysterious. And wasn't I the lucky one at this party? Not every kid gets to live in England and have the best experiences of their life. Lingering sad, big sad, was just a bit too much for the system, you know? I've learned a thing or two about clowns. I always thought of clowns as sort of goofy folks in makeup. But I worked for a professional clown once. I guess that made me a professional clown because they paid me. And I'll tell you, these people are dead serious about their work. There is no messing with the clowns. No, they take themselves seriously. And this is to be admired. I told someone this story the other day, and they said, Monique, that sounds like the movie Inside Out. It does so much. The sad memories had taken over, and Personality Island and Family Island and probably a few other islands were in threat for me. So I had this very sad, but also super cool because I made a clock. And it came back to Canada with me. and ended up eventually in a box with all my other treasures. I totally forgot about it. Fast forward 25 years. I'm home to visit my parents. I have 3 young kids in tow. My dad says, "Hey, I found that clock you made in England." And he pulls it off the shelf. It's worn, dirty, and I did nothing to try to improve its appearance for you today. It is as it was, trust me. And it was clearly broken. The one remaining hand is bent. The glue has totally browned over the years. I laugh that it still exists. But there is something that makes my heart drop just a little bit. I pack it into my carry-on and I take it back here to Calgary. It lays out on the kitchen counter, kind of like it is right here. And for a while, it's collecting dust, and it ends up somewhere. And I have no idea where. I didn't see it for years. And then on one day, that day, I had one of the most exasperating adult experiences I have ever had. It doesn't really matter what it was in all its gory and lengthy detail, because in hindsight, it was just an event that blew open so many other life experiences and feelings I had had. In short, and simply for context, I'd poured myself into something. I'd offered my generative contribution, my fecundity, my ideas, the fruit of thought and labor, and months of revisions. I'd be told, "Hey, that looks really good. Bring it back to your desk and resubmit it with change." So I did. And that day, I was told my proposal had been passed. It had been accepted. But when I opened up the finalized document, it had been totally butchered. It had been given to someone else to steward and supervise it. It no longer resembled nor addressed the issues my idea had sought to address, and I felt the air totally sucked out of me. I asked myself these questions. Did I do something wrong in moving this forward? Did it go this way because I'm a woman? Is there something maybe wrong with the system? Is it broken? What is going on? And these may seem like silly questions to you, but they are not, and were not for me. Just go ask a few other women if something similar hasn't ever crossed their mind. The world can sometimes be disorienting. Regardless, what I had done, what I had contributed, poured myself into, was dismissed, without discussion, without process. The feelings it incited may sound familiar. Helpless, powerless, displaced, dismissed, hurt, a bit afraid, alone, and really angry. I couldn't sleep that night. It's 3 a.m. and I'm standing at my back door, staring out at the moon. I'm buzzing with anger. It's a crisp and clear night. Dr. James Hollis, a depth psychologist, described 3 a.m. as the hour of the wolf. Others have described it as a thin space, a holy hour, a time for prayer. For me, it is most often the hour of angst and rage. I opened the door and I yelled out into the night to God, from my gut, my moment's most honest, frustrated, stuck prayer. Show me something I need to understand. And this is where it happened. And honestly, I might not believe you if you told me this. The room started pulsing. A loud sound, loud, filled the air. Da, 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 da. I was startled in the moment. Did one of the kids wake up? I called out, "Hello?" No answer. The steady sound continued, and I wondered if something had fallen down the chimney, maybe a bird. Could it be a bird flapping? So I wandered over to the chimney. Not the chimney. The cupboard next to the fire, maybe? No. Maybe the kitchen. So I walked towards the kitchen. I was getting warmer. I wandered around the island and I followed the sound, which was continuing, and I approached a set of cupboards just above the phone. The sound, which had remained rhythmic and steady, seemed to be coming from near there. And I started opening cupboards. I'm leaning down, I'm going up, not this one, not that one. Then I opened the last one, the one on the top left, and it was louder. I started pulling papers and paint samples, fecundity, and lots of junk out of the drawer. And there at the back of one of the cubby holes, the source of the sound, I reached in. I reached into the darkness of the night, making it hard to see anything at all. And I pulled out the source. In my hand, the sad clock. I hadn't seen it in years, and it was ticking. It had turned on, and there is no way that it was ticking quietly in that cupboard beyond my hearing all these years. It was now strong and loud, to the point that the next morning, as one by one my family members woke up and came out to the kitchen, they said, "What is that noise?" And it's a bit strange to say, "Well, kids, my sad clock turned on." So I said little, and I have mostly held this event close until now. So I'm standing in the kitchen in the middle of the night with this ticking clock in my hand. What was I to make of this? This stuff doesn't happen to people like me, Dutch kids, CRC kids who need a good confession or catechism to make sense of stuff. As you can imagine, I was astounded. As George Bush Jr. might say, there was a little shock and awe going on and a great bit of confusion. All I knew was that I was spoken to. I was not sure what the message was, but no question, God had shown up. And I felt seen and understood. And that was enough. But that was not all. This is the day I started on a journey of compassionate curiosity about my own story that continues to this day. I have referred to it as reckoning with my sad clock. It's been a journey of curiosity about my life experiences, about my feelings, and where I've turned them off or stopped listening to them as a great source of knowledge from God. In that moment, my adult self received an invitation to dive into my childhood and life experiences, those experiences that left me feeling victimized and helpless, powerless, alone, distressed, and angry, feelings lots of people have, and ask that one and first question I asked the night I opened the cupboard: what am I to make of this? What does this mean? Now was the time to reconcile with childish things and to learn to love my chief neighbor, me. To own my experiences, the real sadness I felt, my disappointments, my failures, all of them, and begin to accept it as part of my story and as mostly normal parts of human experience, and to love also what it showed me about how God wired me and made me. In many ways, I was invited to be like the clowns I worked with when I was a teenager and to take myself seriously, to take my feelings seriously, to grow up and lead my life, and to let feelings be my guide, a guide, to stay curious, because now I know in part, and then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. Remember the lesson of Inside Out? You can't have the joy without the sadness. I was invited that day to feel it, to accept it, to stay with it, to stop avoiding it, to be it for a while, so that the fecundity and fruitfulness and generative parts of me, the whole and true part of myself, could wake up and grow up. God uses or can use everything and anything in our life, giving it meaning. We're meaning makers. The world is literally bursting with meaning for us if we have eyes to see, or in my case, ears to hear it.